Welcome, my friends. Today, we are going to go on a journey together. A journey through one of the most famous stories in all of human history. This is the life story of Jesus Christ. Maybe you have heard this name before. Maybe you have not. Either way, this story will stay with you. And as you listen, you will also be learning English. Naturally, slowly, comfortably. Just like hearing a story from a good friend. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Let's go back very far back. About 2,000 years ago. The world was a very different place. There were no phones, no cars, no electricity. People lived simple lives, they grew food, they raised animals, they walked from town to town. But life was also very hard. Many people were poor, they had very little food, they worked long hours every day. And many people were also afraid. At that time, a powerful empire ruled the world. It was called the Roman Empire. The Romans were strong, they had a big army, they controlled many countries including a small land called Judea. Judea is in the area we now call Israel and Palestine. The Jewish people lived in Judea. They had their own traditions, their own religion, their own hopes. And for a long time they had been waiting. Waiting for someone special. Someone who would come and change everything. In their ancient holy books there was a promise. A promise that one day a man would come. A special man, a chosen man. They called this man the Messiah. The Messiah would bring hope, he would bring peace, he would help the poor, he would show people the right way to live. For hundreds of years, the Jewish people waited. And then something happened. In a small town called Nazareth, there lived a young woman. Her name was Mary. Mary was a quiet, kind woman. She was engaged to a man named Joseph. Joseph was a carpenter, that means he built things with wood, tables, chairs, doors, houses. One day, something extraordinary happened to Mary. Extraordinary is a big English word, it means something very unusual, something you never expect. According to the Bible, the holy book of Christianity, an angel appeared to Mary. The angel's name was Gabriel. Gabriel said to Mary, "Do not be afraid, you are going to have a special baby. This baby will be the Son of God, you will call him Jesus." Mary was surprised, she was a little afraid, but she was also full of peace. She said, "I am ready, let it happen as you say." Now Joseph also had a dream. In the dream, an angel told him, "Do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, the baby she is carrying is from God." Joseph believed, he married Mary, and he promised to protect them both. Around that time, the Roman emperor gave an order. He said, everyone must go back to the town of their family and write their name in a list. This is called a census. A census is when the government counts all the people. So Joseph and Mary had to travel. They walked a long way, from Nazareth to a small town called Bethlehem. Mary was almost ready to have her baby. The journey was very difficult for her. When they arrived in Bethlehem, Joseph looked for a place to stay. He knocked on many doors. But every place was full. No room here, no room there, no room anywhere. Finally, one kind person offered them a stable. A stable is a place where animals live, where horses and donkeys eat and sleep. It was simple, it was not comfortable, but it was shelter. And that night in that small stable in Bethlehem, Jesus was born. Mary wrapped him in soft cloth to keep him warm, she placed him gently in a manger. A manger is a box that holds food for animals. But that night, it held something much more precious. It held a baby who would one day change the entire world. That same night, not far from Bethlehem, some shepherds were sitting outside in the fields. Shepherds are people who take care of sheep, they watch over the animals at night to keep them safe. Suddenly a bright light filled the sky. The shepherds were terrified, they fell to the ground. But an angel appeared and said, "Do not be afraid, I bring you wonderful news. Tonight in Bethlehem a Savior has been born, he is Christ the Lord, go and find him, you will know him because he is lying in a manger." Then the sky was filled with many angels, all singing and praising God. The shepherds looked at each other. They said, "Let us go to Bethlehem, let us see this thing that has happened." So they ran, they found Mary and Joseph, and they found the baby Jesus lying in the manger exactly as the angel had said. The shepherds were filled with joy, they told everyone what they had seen and heard. And far away in the east, wise men, sometimes called the three kings or magi, saw a very bright star in the sky. They believed the star was a sign. They followed the star across many countries, traveling for a long time. Finally, it led them to the place where Jesus was. They brought gifts: gold, frankincense, myrrh. These were valuable and special gifts for a king. They bowed down before the small child and worshipped him. The wise men said, "We have seen his star, we have come to honor him." After some time, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus returned to Nazareth. Jesus grew up there. He was a normal child in many ways. He learned to walk, he learned to talk, he helped his father Joseph in the carpentry shop. Imagine a small boy watching his father work with wood, helping him carry things, learning how to use tools. Jesus also went to the synagogue, the Jewish place of worship, to learn the Holy Scriptures. He was a very good student. He listened carefully, he asked deep questions. When Jesus was 12 years old, his family went to Jerusalem for a special festival. Jerusalem was the most important city in Judea. It had a magnificent temple, a very large and beautiful building where people went to pray and worship God. After the festival, Mary and Joseph started the journey home. But after one full day of walking, they realized something terrible. Jesus was not with them. They searched the group of travelers, he was not there. They went back to Jerusalem. For 3 days they looked everywhere. Finally they found him. He was inside the temple. And he was sitting with the religious teachers, the most educated men in the country. He was listening to them, he was asking them questions, and he was giving answers that amazed everyone. Everyone was surprised. How does this young boy know so much? Mary said to him, "Son, why did you do this? We have been so worried, we have been looking for you everywhere." Jesus looked at her and said gently, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" Mary did not fully understand his words then, but she remembered them in her heart. Jesus went home with his parents. He continued to grow, he continued to learn. And people who knew him said he was full of wisdom, full of grace. Jesus lived quietly in Nazareth for many years. He worked as a carpenter, he helped his family, he was a good son, a good neighbor, a good friend. But when he was about 30 years old, something changed. The time had come. The time for Jesus to begin his mission. His work, his purpose, the reason he came into the world. Near the Jordan River, there was a man named John the Baptist. John was a prophet, someone who speaks messages from God. John wore rough clothes made from camel hair, he ate simple food, he lived in the desert. He told people, "Turn away from your wrong actions, change your heart, someone is coming, someone much greater than me." Many people came to John, he would take them into the river and wash them with water. This was called baptism, it was a symbol of washing away the past, starting fresh, starting clean. One day Jesus came to the Jordan River. He asked John to baptize him. John was surprised, he said, "You should baptize me, why do you come to me?" Jesus said, "Let it be so for now, it is the right thing to do." So John baptized Jesus in the river. And when Jesus came up from the water, something amazing happened. The sky opened, a dove came down from heaven and rested on Jesus. And a voice from the sky said, "This is my son whom I love, I am very pleased with him." From that moment, everyone understood. This was not an ordinary man. After his baptism, Jesus went alone into the desert. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. He did not eat, he prayed, he prepared himself for everything that was coming. During this time, the Bible says that Satan, the spirit of evil, came to tempt him. To tempt means to try to make someone do something wrong, to offer them something attractive to pull them away from what is right. Satan said, "If you are really the Son of God, turn these stones into bread." Jesus was very hungry, he had not eaten for 40 days. But he answered, "People do not live by bread alone, they need every word that comes from God." Satan tried again. He took Jesus to a very high place and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. He said, "I will give you all this power and wealth if you bow down and worship me." Jesus answered firmly, "No, you must worship God, you must serve only him." 3 times Satan tried. 3 times Jesus refused. Finally Satan left. And Jesus walked out of the desert, ready to begin his work. This story teaches us something important. Everyone faces temptation. Everyone faces moments where they must choose between right and wrong. But character is built in those difficult moments. Jesus chose rightly every time. Jesus began to travel. He walked from town to town around the region of Galilee. Galilee was a beautiful area. It had a large lake called the Sea of Galilee. Near the lake, Jesus saw two brothers working as fishermen. Their names were Simon, later called Peter, and Andrew. Jesus called to them, "Come, follow me, I will make you fishers of people." That is a beautiful phrase, fishers of people. Instead of catching fish, they would bring people to a new way of life. Simon and Andrew left their nets immediately. They followed Jesus. Then Jesus saw two more brothers, James and John. They were also fishermen. He called them too, and they followed. Over time, Jesus chose 12 men to be his closest companions. These men were called disciples or apostles. They were not kings, they were not rich, they were ordinary people. Fisherman, a tax collector, a carpenter's son. But Jesus saw something in each of them. He trained them, he taught them, he showed them a new way of living. And together they walked the roads of Galilee, changing lives everywhere they went. Jesus taught in many ways. Sometimes he taught in synagogues. Sometimes he taught on hillsides. Sometimes by the lake. Sometimes in people's homes. Wherever he went, crowds followed him. People were hungry for his words. One of his most famous teachings is called the Sermon on the Mount. He sat on a hillside and spoke to a great crowd. His words were simple, but they were also very deep. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who are sad, blessed are the gentle, blessed are those who want to do what is right." Blessed means happy, fortunate, in a good place. He also said, "Love your enemies, do good to those who hurt you, pray for those who are cruel to you." These words were shocking to people. In those days, most people believed, if someone hurts you, hurt them back. But Jesus said something completely different. He said, if someone slaps you on one cheek, offer them the other one too. He was teaching forgiveness, he was teaching love without conditions. He also told many parables. A parable is a short story that teaches a big lesson. One famous parable is the story of the prodigal son. A young man asked his father for his share of the family's money. He took it and went far away. He spent all the money quickly, living foolishly. Soon he had nothing left. He was so hungry that he wanted to eat the food given to pigs. Then he came to his senses. He thought, "Even my father's servants have enough food. I will go home. I will say, 'Father, I have done wrong. I am not worthy to be called your son. Please make me one of your servants.'" So he started walking home. But when his father saw him coming from far away, the father ran to him. He threw his arms around his son. He called out to his servants, "Bring nice clothes, bring food, let us celebrate. My son was lost and now he is found." Jesus used this story to explain something about God. He said, God is like that father. He does not give up on people. He is always watching. He is always ready to welcome you back. No matter what you have done, no matter how far you have gone. As Jesus traveled and taught, he also did many miracles. A miracle is something that cannot be explained by normal science, something that seems impossible. People who were sick came to Jesus, he healed them. A man who could not walk, Jesus healed him, he got up and walked. A man who was blind, Jesus touched his eyes, he received his sight. People who had terrible diseases that no doctor could cure, Jesus healed them with a word or a touch. One very famous miracle happened at a wedding. Jesus and his mother Mary were at a wedding in a town called Cana. During the celebration, the wine ran out. This was a big problem. In that culture, running out of food or drink at a party was very embarrassing for the host. Mary said to Jesus, "They have no more wine." Jesus told the servants to fill 6 large stone jars with water. They filled them to the top. Then Jesus said, "Now pour some out and take it to the person in charge of the feast." When the man tasted it, it was wine. Not ordinary wine, the best wine anyone had ever tasted. Everyone was amazed. This was the first miracle Jesus performed in public. Another great miracle happened one evening near the Sea of Galilee. A huge crowd had followed Jesus all day to hear him teach. Now it was getting late, everyone was hungry. But they were far from any town, there was no food nearby. The disciples were worried. One of them, a young boy, had 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish. That was all. How could such a small amount feed thousands of people? Jesus took the bread and fish, he looked up to heaven, he gave thanks. Then he broke the bread and gave it to the disciples to distribute to the crowd. And something incredible happened. Everyone ate, everyone was satisfied. And when they collected the leftovers, there were 12 baskets full of food. More food after eating than they had before. This miracle showed that with Jesus there is always enough, there is more than enough. As time passed, Jesus became more and more well known. People loved him, crowds followed him everywhere. But not everyone was happy. The religious leaders, the Pharisees and the chief priests were worried. They saw that people were leaving their old ways and following Jesus. They felt their power was threatened. They were angry. They whispered among themselves, "This man is dangerous, he must be stopped." Jesus knew what was coming. He told his disciples clearly, "We are going to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the religious leaders. They will condemn him, he will suffer, he will die, but on the 3rd day he will rise again." The disciples did not understand these words. They did not want to believe them. But Jesus continued walking toward Jerusalem. He was not running away, he was not afraid. He walked forward with purpose. When he arrived in Jerusalem, something beautiful happened. People lined the streets. They put their coats on the ground in front of him, they waved palm branches. They shouted, "Hosanna, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord." It was like a parade for a king. But Jesus did not ride in on a great horse like a warrior king. He came in quietly, riding on a donkey. A symbol of peace, a symbol of humility. Humility means not thinking you are better than others, being simple, being gentle. Even though he was the most powerful person who had ever lived, he chose humility. It was the time of the Passover, a very important Jewish festival. Jesus sat down for a special meal with his 12 disciples. This meal is now called the Last Supper. During the meal, Jesus did something that surprised everyone. He stood up, he took off his outer robe, he wrapped a towel around his waist. He poured water into a bowl. And then he began to wash the feet of his disciples. This was the job of the lowest servant in the house. Peter was shocked, he said, "Lord, you should never wash my feet." Jesus said, "If I do not wash you, you do not belong to me." Then he explained, "I am your teacher and your Lord, and I have washed your feet. So you also should wash one another's feet, serve each other, love each other, this is my command." A leader who serves. A teacher who kneels. A king who washes dirty feet. What a picture! Then Jesus took bread, he broke it, he gave it to them and said, "This is my body given for you, do this to remember me." Then he took a cup of wine and said, "This cup is the new promise from God made with my blood." He told them that someone at the table would betray him. Betray means to turn against someone, to hurt someone who trusted you. One of the 12 disciples, a man named Judas Iscariot, had already made a secret deal with the religious leaders. He had agreed to lead them to Jesus, in exchange for 30 pieces of silver. That night after the supper, Jesus and his disciples went to a garden called Gethsemane. Jesus went a little apart from the others to pray. He prayed deeply, painfully. He said, "Father, if it is possible, take this cup away from me, but not what I want, what you want." He was fully human in that moment, he felt fear, he felt pain. But he surrendered to God's plan. While Jesus was still praying, Judas arrived. He brought with him a large crowd carrying swords and clubs. They had been sent by the religious leaders. Judas walked up to Jesus and greeted him with a kiss. This was the signal, "The one I kiss, that is the man, arrest him." Jesus was arrested. His disciples scattered in fear, Peter followed from a distance. That night Peter denied even knowing Jesus. 3 times people asked him, "Are you not one of his followers?" 3 times Peter said, "No, I do not know this man." Jesus was brought before the Jewish religious council, they questioned him. They asked, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of God?" Jesus said, "I am." They were furious. They called it blasphemy, saying something disrespectful about God. They decided he must die. Then they brought him before the Roman governor, a man named Pontius Pilate. Pilate questioned Jesus. He could find no real crime. He said to the crowd, "I find no guilt in this man, I will release him." But the crowd shouted, "Crucify him, crucify him." Pilate was afraid of the crowd. He gave in. He sentenced Jesus to death by crucifixion. Crucifixion was one of the most painful ways to die in the ancient world. The person was nailed to a large wooden cross and left to hang until they died. It was meant to be humiliating, public, painful. Before the crucifixion, the soldiers beat Jesus severely. They put a crown made of sharp thorns on his head, mocking him. They said sarcastically, "Hail, King of the Jews." Then they made him carry his own cross through the streets of Jerusalem. The path he walked is sometimes called the Via Dolorosa, which means the way of suffering. People watched from the sides of the road. Some cried. Some mocked. Some just stood in silence. He was nailed to the cross on a hill called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And there he hung between two criminals. Even from the cross he showed mercy. He looked at the people who were hurting him and said, "Father, forgive them, they do not know what they are doing." One of the criminals beside him mocked him. But the other criminal said, "We deserve to be here, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he turned to Jesus and said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus replied, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." He looked down and saw his mother Mary standing there, weeping. He said to his beloved disciple John, "Here is your mother," and to Mary, "Here is your son." Even in his last moments, he took care of others. After hours of suffering, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "It is finished." And he died. The sky went dark, the earth shook, the curtain in the temple tore in two from top to bottom. A Roman soldier who was standing nearby saw all of this. He said quietly, "Truly this man was the Son of God." Jesus was buried in a tomb, a cave in a rock. A large stone was rolled in front of the entrance. Roman guards were placed outside to make sure no one came. His followers were devastated, heartbroken, full of grief. All their hopes seemed to be finished. 3 days passed. On the third day, early in the morning, some women who loved Jesus went to the tomb. They wanted to bring spices to properly care for the body, as was the custom. But when they arrived, the stone had been rolled away. The tomb was open. They went inside. The body was gone. Suddenly 2 angels appeared, dressed in dazzling white. The women fell to the ground in fear. The angels said, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here, he has risen, just as he said." The women ran back to tell the disciples. The disciples did not believe them at first. Peter ran to the tomb to see for himself. He saw the burial cloths lying there, but no body. He was confused, amazed, but beginning to wonder. Then Jesus appeared. First to Mary Magdalene, outside the tomb weeping. Then to the disciples, as they hid behind locked doors. He said, "Peace be with you." He showed them his hands, his feet, the marks from the nails. It was really him. He was alive. The resurrection, this is the most important moment in the Christian faith. The word resurrection means coming back to life after death. Jesus' followers believed that death did not defeat him, that God raised him back to life. And that this changed everything. For everyone forever. For 40 days after his resurrection, Jesus appeared to his disciples many times. He talked with them, he ate with them, he taught them. He explained the scriptures, he helped them understand everything that had happened and why. He spoke to large groups, one time to more than 500 people at once. Then the time came for him to leave. He gathered his disciples on a hillside. He gave them a final command. This command is called the Great Commission. He said, "Go into all the world, tell everyone the good news, make disciples of all nations, baptize them, teach them everything I have taught you, and remember I am with you always until the very end of time." And then as they watched, he was lifted up. Higher and higher into the clouds, until he disappeared from their sight. 2 angels appeared beside the disciples. They said, "Why are you standing here looking at the sky? This same Jesus will come back one day in the same way you saw him go." My friends, we have reached the end of today's story. The life of Jesus Christ. From a quiet night in Bethlehem, to the roads of Galilee, to the halls of Jerusalem, to a cross on a hill, and to an empty tomb on a Sunday morning. This story has been told for over 2,000 years. It has been told in every language on earth. It has changed millions of lives. Whether you are a Christian or not, this story teaches us many things. About love, about forgiveness, about humility. About choosing what is right even when it is very hard. About never giving up on people. And about the power of hope. I hope you enjoyed today's story. I hope your English is a little stronger now than when we started. Keep listening, keep learning, keep going. You are doing so well. And remember, every great story begins with one small step. Just like you took today. Thank you for watching, my friends. I will see you in the next story. Take care, stay curious, keep learning.